Well, this is certainly a special upload. We get to review a Dynamite. It's been a long time. Usually the rule on this channel is a pro wrestling show has to hit at least 1 million in viewership consistently for us to review that particular wrestling show. So, and that rule is implemented because you want enough people to care about the show, and then hopefully that translates into them caring about the review, right? If there's not a lot of care into the show itself, there probably won't be a lot of care for the review, right? Some people might stop by, show support, smash the up, say what's up, but not a lot of people will be that engaged or, again, really even care about it. Case in point, Monday Night Raw, right? You look at Raw, they're doing some of the worst numbers in show history under Paul Levesque McMahon. The month of August, their average is, I believe, right under 1.5. They pulled 1.4, 1.4, 1.3, 1.5. That was their month of October. Less than a 1.5 average. Again, we've never seen numbers like this in WWE Raw history, and that actually does translate into the reviews. You see it across the board, right? The energy is not the same. It's different and not for the best. So that's why we implement those rules. But full transparency, the flip side to that is there's just not enough hours in the day, right? It seems like there's a different wrestling show every single night of the week. And BC will be completely honest with you, as I always am. I don't have that type of time. So I can't watch all of these wrestling shows live when they happen. So I got to try to catch them over the course of the next 24 hours. And that doesn't always leave me time to give you guys a review. But there's a wrestling show every day, nearly, right? Monday night, there's Raw. Tuesday night, there's NXT. Wednesday night, there's Dynamite. Thursday, there probably is a wrestling show. Maybe NWA or maybe Impact, TNA. Probably on Thursday nights. Friday is SmackDown and Rampage. Saturday is Collision, and Sunday is a pay-per-view of some sort, maybe 2. So, you younger fans, you'll know as you get older, there's just not enough time to watch all of these shows during the week. It's just not. So we have to implement that rule, and if you could pull 1 million plus consistently, I will go out of my way to catch that show in a reasonable amount of time, and you guys will get a review. However, last night I was able to catch Dynamite. I had the time. I watched the show from top to bottom, start to finish, beginning to end, and I took my notes. I did my due diligence. I dissected that show, and it's been a long time, but we are going to do an amplified review of Dynamite 11/8/23. So if you're an AEW fan, I'd love to have you. Let's talk about it. If you're not an AEW fan, stick around, grab a beverage, kick up your feet. Let's talk about it. And at the end of this AEW review, stick around too. There's several amplified unit members, some of you guys as well, gold card members, channel members. But a bunch of you guys chucked a coffee at the channel via the super thanks down below in the last upload, maybe even the last couple of uploads. But there was a bunch of you guys. So I want to make sure I'm giving a proper shout out to everybody that chucked a coffee to the channel via that super thanks. So even when the review is done, the upload is not. I got some shout outs to do. All right, let's get into this. AEW, this is good, man. This is fun. It's been a while. All right, had to get a sip of coffee. But this show starts, Dynamite 11/8/23, with MJF and Daniel Garcia backstage. MJF asks Garcia if he's going to get the sports entertainer or is he going to get Danny Garcia, the wrestler. Garcia responds, you're going to get the wrestler. And we go right into this title match, which was exactly 10 minutes in length, bell to bell. MJF taps out Garcia via the salt of the earth submission. Post-match, MJF wants sportsmanship in the form of a handshake. MJF wants the handshake afterwards. Sportsmanship, right? Now, I laugh because if you follow this channel, I call this the mutual respect era. right? If you watch enough WWE over the last month or two, especially the last several weeks, Paul Levesque McMahon he's just consumed with the handshake after every other match. Usually it's face versus face, and wrestler A and wrestler B approve of each other's exhibition, right? Good job, wrestler A. You too, wrestler B. Like it's amateur wrestling, right? So every other match, we're just seeing and AEW's been doing it for the longest time as well. But way too many handshakes after matches, man. We have to stop with we get it. Everybody is respecting everybody lately, right? Everybody is so impressed with everybody. We get it. The sportsmanship, the mutual respect era that we are in. We need to kick that down a few notches. But he's calling for the handshake. BC's like, please, no, anybody, somebody, anybody, break this up. Because it looks like Garcia actually wants to shake his hand. Oh, man. Thankfully, it did get broken up, right? My boy, Daddy Magic, entered frame with Cool Hand. And the former JAS members got right in between Garcia and MJF. And after a few moments, Garcia's like, no, I want to do this. And Daddy Magic and Cool Hand are like, you are not shaking this dude's hand. Enough of this mutual respect sportsmanship BS. And they did enough to back up Garcia. So I laugh, but I was really rooting for Daddy Magic and Cool Hand here to break this up. I did not want to see another handshake on my pro wrestling television. I don't care what the company is. I don't care who's wrestling. I don't want to see another handshake for the rest of the year. How's that? No more handshakes. I don't care how much you respect your opponent. Respect them, but leave your hands. Do some Orange Cassidy. Just put them in the pockets. Anyway, guys, a little bit of fun there. On a serious note, because if you haven't followed this channel, if you're new to the channel, I'm very high on MJF. And the reason is because I feel like he's just one of those dudes that gets the business, right? Forget it factor and all of that, which he has. But he plays that role, right? If you go to an MJF autograph session, right, you're probably going to get flipped off and he's going to tell your parents to go shove it, right? Tell them where they can go stick it. On the social doohickey machine, you're probably going to get more of MJF in character than anything else, instead of telling you what he had for dinner or what's his favorite color. MJF, guys like MJF, Bray Wyatt, there's very few of them in this industry that still really live that character. You know, that's what Undertaker still to this day preaches. You still have to have levels and aspects of kayfabe and believability in your character at all times. It's the only way this works. So that's why I'm so high on MJF. Even when he was getting dogged out by a lot of people in the industry, I stayed committed on propping him up because I felt it was justified. And I still do to this day. But full transparency, full amplified honesty as always on this channel from BC. I am not a fan of super obnoxious face MJF. I'm just not. The chants, everybody chanting for MJF and MJF playing to the crowd. I'm not a fan of this. That's all I'll say. Take it or leave it. I'm probably leaving it. The good news is I'm not buying any of it. I still think something's up. I don't know if he's behind a devil mask or anything like that. But I'm just not buying this fully. This is not MJF. And I think most of us know that. And one day soon, maybe sooner rather than later, maybe it's a long, slow payoff. But I think the other shoe is going to drop. And I think the other side of that scumbag will show itself on AEW television again. And I think that MJF will be gracing us again. And that's the one that's the funnest. I feel he's got the most to offer the industry. Anyway, I digress. We can keep going on that subject because I always have a lot to say about MJF, a very polarizing character, and a lot of fun to break down his promos and or matches. But I want to get to the next match because the MJF title match, that was about a 7 on the Richter scale of noise, right? It was a good little response, a nice little opener to the show. You got the champion, he's setting the tone. But this next match took that octane, noise-wise, to a 9. Sting and Darby Allin. They win a quick match over the Outrunners. Sting taps out Truth Magnum via the Scorpion Deathlock. All respect to the AEW World Champion MJF, as I just said many times, but Sting brought that place to life. They were at a 7 for that opener, and Sting took that crowd to a 9. Easily. And you can tell that Sting is really taking in every moment of this retirement tour, because there was a cool moment when they were going up the ramp after they had already beaten the Outrunners. Sting and Darby are going up the ramp, and Sting stops, and he says, hold on to Darby. And Sting proceeds to go around the entire ringside area and making sure that he gives high fives to every single fan in that whole ringside area. And that's something you do not see from Sting. I've watched this guy for decades do his thing in that ring. That's just not something he does. And for him to stop and just go, no, hold on. I mean, this is a true retirement tour. And that's why I'm so glad they did it like this, where somebody announces their retirement way in advance. It's so cool when you do that. They do that in baseball, Major League Baseball, right? You knew Derek Jeter was retiring in every single city that he went to, even if it's a big foe, a big rival of ours. They were showering him with just a great reception and even presence, man. The organizations were giving Derek Jeter all these gifts, checks to his Turn 2 organization, and many more too. But Big Papi, all of them, all the big time stars, they always announce beforehand so everybody can acknowledge and appreciate. NASCAR does it. And there's a few other sports as well. I'm just glad you don't see that a lot in pro wrestling. So I love it because you get to really appreciate. I mean, if you listen to that crowd, man, it's like you really are viewing something special, because you are. You're seeing, for most of these people, it's the last time they're ever going to see Sting actually wrestle live. Let's be honest. So it's just special, man. And you can really see, like, if you've followed Sting for decades, like BC has, and maybe many of you, you can tell that this is very special for Sting. That was just a very special moment for BC to watch that, even though I wasn't live. So as the fans are appreciating Sting so vividly, Sting is appreciating them so vividly. Just cool. Very cool. Okay, all right, moving on. Enough with the gushy stuff. Sting's retired. We still got a few months before Sting rides off into the sunset and starts drinking some cold ones with Mark Calloway, the Undertaker. We actually had a really good backstage segment next. It was in black and white. I want to say this was like Toni Storm's dressing room. It was Toni Storm and Sheeta. Sheeta with her nice shiny championship, even though it was black and white. It still looks shiny. And they were the moderator, the interviewer, was Tony Schiavone in the middle. Schiavone apologizes that it's in black and white. Sheeta looks like she just has a headache already. And Toni Storm is just in her natural element. Like, I don't see the problem. She's got her shoes off. She's just chilling. And Sheeta is like, why are you, what happened? Like, what happened to you? And Toni Storm's like, you happened. Every time I had the title or the chance to get it, you keep happening. So Toni Storm, and I don't know if I have the quote. Toni Storm was great. Toni Storm says to the effect, she's going to take care of Sheeta the old-fashioned way. Chin up, tits out, shoe in hand. I just don't know. I've never heard of that saying before. Maybe that's straight up from the native land, but I've never heard of that before. Chin up, tits out, and shoe in hand. And she actually had her shoe in hand. And Sheeta just instantly just knocks the shoe right out of Tony's hand, and Tony's just like appalled. It's like the worst thing you could have done to Toni Storm. She was just like, how dare you kick my shoe, toss my shoe out of my hand. It was so obnoxious. It's great. I mean, watching Toni Storm during these commercial breaks, the picture-in-picture, and she's just doing all this outrageous things, dancing or just like having straight dialogue, even though you can't hear a thing because you're in commercial. I mean, that's more captivating than most of these shows. Toni Storm is a prime example of if you just try something new and you amplify it, you turn it up several notches. And if it clicks, you're off to the races. You might fail. You might fail actually 90% of the time. 9 out of 10 times, let's put it that way. But it's that one time, man. That's all it takes. Toni Storm. She went from getting pies in the face, Charlie's pie in the face in WWE, to getting her ass spray painted in AEW by Saraya, to this. She's probably, I'd easily say, in terms of response and audience reception, she's easily top 5 in the industry right now. As far as like being the talk of the town and people really being captivated or at least bringing her up in conversation, Toni Storm, top 5. I can say that with a straight face. I would say that. Toni Storm, man, she's really clicked into another gear, and it's going to be interesting to see what they do now with the. I mean, you can't really just start taking that title and flipping it every which way just because you don't have plans, right? Just because you don't know where to go. You better find out where you're going. You better set those plans in stone, and you better go with them, because I don't want to see that title just be hot potatoed. But this is the beginning of something special for the women's division. This is something Tony Khan has needed for a long time. Sheeta has always been a backbone to that division, especially during the Plandem, when they really needed a stablemate, a centerpiece. And Sheeta was that person. To this day, I don't think Sheeta ever got the real credit she deserves. She was a damn good champion with a damn decent, bare minimum title reign. And then you got Toni Storm really kicking it up several notches. Very good. And this was just a backstage, quick little 2-minute black and white promo. Obnoxious, right? That's pro wrestling. I loved it. Moving on. What was next? Swerve versus Penta. That's right. The crowd was really into this match, especially when Penta hit the destroyer on Swerve on the apron. That sent the whole crowd into a frenzy. You hit a Canadian destroyer, they'll flip out like you just brought out a table, right? Wrestling fans love table, just a little thin piece of wood, and they'll go bananas. The Canadian destroyer, man, always does the trick. I feel bad for Taz. When the destroyer was hit, the fans were chanting, holy shit, and they went quickly from like an 8 to a 2. So they went to replays during the holy shit chants. And when they come back, Taz is like, this crowd is loving it. And at that point, they were already at a 2, so they went silent real quick. So poor Taz was like, a second ago, they were making noise. Trust me. I felt so bad. I'm like, Taz, we know. We heard it, man. Other than that, I think it was the Swerve stomp that beat Penta. Penta, actually, the entire finish looked like Penta was taking it. But late, that Swerve stomp came out, and not like an RKO, but it did kind of come out. Penta, I thought, had a chance here. The right man won. I did not feel like Swerve could afford this loss. Penta can easily pick himself. They always pick Penta up pretty nicely. I mean, you see the pyro this guy got last night? This guy had more pyro than I think the opening of Dynamite. I mean, this guy, they'll present him as a star, no problem. Swerve really needs these type of W's. So even though I thought there was several times toward the finish where Penta was going to take it, I like the Swerve stomp. I like that finish. Penta's got to take that L. That's just, yeah. I'm unwavered on that decision, man. I like that. Other than that, there was nothing really of substance, though. You know, it was just a fun match for the crowd. Nothing that I'm going to remember. If I'm not doing this review, I probably would have already forgotten it. Backstage, the Bucks challenge Omega and Jericho to a match at Full Gear. Omega has had enough, and he accepts. And Omega does admit, yet again, he says, if you're asking me who the best tag team is, it's you guys. But if you're asking me, can I beat you? I've already done it, so of course I can beat you. That's not even it's not a question, right? Because it would have to be rhetorical. We all know the answer. So this is stupid. But all right, if this is what you need, we'll take you out. And Omega walks off. Now Jericho has some choice words for the Bucks, and before he takes off, Jericho looks at the Bucks and he says, and by the way, I have my own locker room. And he looks at the camera before he walks off. So I don't know, is that a CM Punk reference? I got my own locker room, so if you want to come to the locker room and start some shit, I don't know. I thought that was like a little diss to CM Punk. Maybe I'm missing something. Fill me in if so. But that looked like a little bit of not a diss to CM Punk, but a reference to the Bucks CM Punk situation. Of course, they all kind of barreled over to CM Punk's dressing room the night of Brawl Out when Punk said, if anybody's got a problem, you know where the dressing room is. You know where my locker room is. So the locker room said, well, we do have a problem. So Jericho says that. I don't know. The first thing I thought of was Punk. Could have been something else, but that's what I was, that's the connection that I made. Now, moving on. Where are we going with? Oh. Many are going to say this was easily the highlight of the night. Not just the match, but what happened afterwards. Samoa Joe defeats Keith Lee via referee stoppage. Now, Lee was willing to pass out before he ever brought himself to tap out. That's respect. Would I have loved to have seen Lee win a match of this magnitude on a show like Dynamite, the flagship? Yes. I don't get to see Lee as often as I would like. But damn, losing to Joe in this way? Ain't no shame in that, man. And you ain't gonna hear me be I ain't gonna dissect that in a negative way. There's just no way possible. It was a good finish. It builds Joe up to be the beast that he always should have been built up to be. The one issue I have post-match, I loved it, and I'm still kind of puzzled by it. Post-match, Joe says he's not here to be ROH TV champion. He's here to be AEW World Champion, whether Maxwell likes it or not. And he proceeds to forfeit the ROH TV championship. He forfeits the title. He lays it right in the middle of the ring. Says he wants AEW championship. He wants the AEW championship. He wants Maxwell Jacob Freeman. So on one hand, I love this decision because it's intriguing, right? It leaves you with questions. Good questions, right? A lot of times in pro wrestling today, the questions are mind-boggling, right? They just, you're clueless because they're so damn clueless. This is like they actually have a path they're going, and you want to take that ride with them, right? You want to jump on board and go down this whole journey to get to the destination we're all hoping is damn good. So on one hand, you're like, all right, I got questions. I got to stick around for that. What the heck are they doing here? He just forfeited the championship that he was making so damn prestigious. But on the other hand, see, this is just the way I was thinking last night. On the other hand, why not have Lee just win the title straight up? If you want Joe to go down the path of the AEW World Heavyweight Championship, cool. Let's jumpstart Lee's momentum. I was going to say let's skyrocket Lee, but it's going to take a lot more than just an ROH TV championship victory on a Dynamite. But you can jumpstart his momentum with a massive W over Joe. And the way Joe's been booked, I don't think he's going to be harmed by that loss at all. Especially if you have big plans for him. Storyline-wise, you can instantly pick him up in 1 week. So I just question that. I mean, if you're going to forfeit it, why not just give it to Keith Lee and let's do something special with both Lee and Joe? But again, I'm not totally against the forfeit. Seeing that title in the middle of the ring, my reservations on this is, are we going to get another one of these stupid tournaments? You're going to have a battle royal and the final 4 people have a mini tournament. Or are you just going to have 16 or 8 dudes do a tournament? You know, whenever I see forfeit or anything like this, or there's a vacancy, The easiest thing for these companies to do is do a stupid tournament that lasts several weeks. It's easy, lazy booking. You just pencil in a bunch of matches and you just keep track of who's winning. Then you just throw those semifinal matches, then you put the final match, and then you put a championship on somebody. We see too many of these. So whenever I hear vacancies and forfeits of titles, man, I just think, oh no, stupid tournaments. Anyway, that was the biggest moment of Dynamite last night. Samoa Joe laying that championship in front of him and that hard cam zooming in. Pretty wild. Julia Hart then pins Red Velvet. Post-match, Sky Blue hits the ring. Blue and Hart stare one another down before Statlander and Willow come down and break them up. Willow is taking out Red Velvet, and Statlander just gets between Blue and Hart. There you go. Almost said Blue and Velvet. I don't know. These are wild names. Blue and Hart. This did not connect with the crowd, the live audience. It just didn't land with the live audience. And full transparency, it was rather odd to BC as well. But I love me some Sky Blue, so count me in. I'm a sucker for Sky Blue. What can I say? Main event, Jay White versus Mark Briscoe. Jay pins Briscoe, but post-match, it really got interesting. MJF hits the ring, clears it, lights go out. Backstage, the masked men are taking out the Acclaimed. I think it was Caster that goes through the window, man, and this was an ultimate spot. These are the things we need more of in pro wrestling, man. Plan these things out, stage them, rehearse them. I don't care if it takes 6 takes. But this is what makes a pro wrestling television show. Get away from the ring, and you got to create moments that people are going to remember a week from now, a month from now, years from now. That's one of those moments that will live on in AEW's short history for now, but long term as well. That moment, man, you know, is it a cliffhanger? You could look at it as such, no doubt. Who are these masked men? Who's the man behind the devil man? All of that. Those type of questions. But just the way that this was done, loved it. Absolutely loved it, man. And again, I think it was it could have been Bowens, but I think it was Caster that actually went through this giant window. And just the way that it was done, you were like, whoa, damn. Like they put some thought and effort into this. MJF is flipping out. He runs out of the ring, gets backstage. He can't believe all the Acclaimed is down and out. Samoa Joe walks up to him, and Joe's laughing. Joe's like, he goes, hey, Max, looks like you're running out of friends. And he just laughs and he walks off. And MJF is distraught as we fade to black. Come on, man. That's all I ever asked for. Give me a television show. It's a pro wrestling show, yes. You're going to see some wrestling matches, right? You're going to see some moves and sequences. Cool. You're going to see flips. You're going to see dives. You're going to see handshakes. Right? Sportsmanship, athletic competition. Awesome. It's a television show. That's what it is. At the end of the day, you know, you have AEW and WWE fans. They always fight each other, right? There's all this tribalism, and I love wrestling, not sports entertainment, right? But the end of the day, it's all sports entertainment. You know, you can hate McMahon all you want, but it's actually a great way to describe pro wrestling, man. It's a lot of sport because it's athleticism. And these are real athletes, most of them. But on the other hand, it's straight entertainment. It is choreographed. It is predetermined. It is pre-planned. It is staged. It's a television show. And we suspend our disbelief, but let's not totally exit the realm of reality. You know, like let's take it for what it is. We have to be entertained on these shows. You're going to have to do more than just the athletic bouts in the ring. I love that finish last night. So, in conclusion, what I saw last night, I was finally able to catch a Dynamite. I saw an entertaining show last night. That doesn't always happen. I've seen Dynamites in the past. I just haven't reviewed them. And I got to tell you, man, I'm just left kind of puzzled on most. Or it's just not a good show. There's no other way to say it. I was entertained by a lot of that last night. If they can keep a lot of that up, man, those ratings can tip. I'm telling you, man, they're not far off. They're all over the place right now. They're flirting with 800,000 viewers. But if they can just get back to doing their thing, stop worrying about WWE. How can we produce the best top-to-bottom show? Not just the wrestling in the ring, the show. Build up the characters, tell the stories. I'm telling you, man, they're not far off. That's AEW Dynamite 11/8/23. Now, before we take off, I got to give a shout out to some Amplified unit members, also some channel members too. But these are individuals that threw a coffee to BC over the last couple of uploads via the super thanks button down below. Ashley N. Much love and appreciation. Major announcement. Raw sucks. Oh man, that popped BC for sure. I got a major announcement right back to you, Ashley N. I agree. And that's why we still tune in to Monday Night Raw out of habit and hope. Habit, we've been doing it since we were kids. Hoping it gets better one day. But I appreciate the coffees and the major announcement, Ashley N. Also, Tiles, much appreciation. Colin, much appreciation and a salute. Where's my coffee? Why is my coffee over there? Well, Colin and Tiles, salute. Jimmy Fingers, 19 with a 20 spot, several coffees in yesterday's upload. Jimmy Fingers, I absolutely agree with your words on Bob Backlund. If you're going to tout that he's in that top 2 spot for all of these years and even decades, don't remove him now just because your guy is going up the ladder rather quickly and he's about to take that 3 and 2 spot. No, just to make it easier for him? Absolutely not. I don't care about the asterisks anymore. You touted Backlund in that 2 spot. Now you keep him there. So, Jimmy Fingers, I absolutely agree. And I saw that superstar Billy Graham was your champion growing up. You're not the only one. Hulk Hogan always said that it was Billy Graham that not only was his champion, but there'd basically be no Hulk Hogan without superstar Billy Graham. So anyway, I just thought that was that was interesting as well. Because that was right around that Bob Backlund era too. You had brought him up, and it just got BC thinking, a lot of wrestlers you saw going forward, they weren't there if not for Billy Graham. Anyway, Jimmy Fingers 19, salute. Much appreciation, man. And JR9 Gaming with the 25th NXT report in yesterday's upload. JR9 covered NXT from top to bottom. Great read. I wasn't able to catch the show, so I really got caught up. Thanks to JR9 Gaming. And hearing that Ava Raine was going into Shawn Michaels' office, JR9 thinks possibly maybe talking about some bloodline business, maybe going over to SmackDown. Is it too early for Ava to go to the main roster? The answer is a resounding yes. But is she doing anything in NXT? A resounding no. So, I mean, look at Solo Sikoa. He didn't really do too much for the first several months, but learn. I guess it wouldn't be that bad. But sometimes you can learn from the very best, hands-on, and still not do anything, right? Not become anything. Look at Jordan Love for the Green Bay Packers, 3 years behind Aaron Rodgers, and this guy doesn't have a lick of talent, it seems. I mean, it's there. He doesn't know how to just zone in on it. And he's playing like, he even admitted, Jordan Love for the Green Bay Packers is playing like a backup. Like he is still the backup of Aaron Rodgers. The problem is he's not. So my point is, sometimes we see people come over too early, learn from the best, and when it's their time to shine and take the ball, they just can't score. So I hope that's not Ava Raine. That's Simone Johnson, by the way, The Rock's daughter. Apparently she went into Shawn Michaels' office. There could be talk that she's going main roster bound imminently. We'll see. Speaking of the females in NXT, JR9 Gaming saying that Tiffany was back on the show, defeating Fallon via the prettiest moonsault of them all. I love it. The Genius of the Sky with the over the moonsault EO and Tiffany's moonsault. Easily the 2 best for the ladies in the business. Good to hear that Tiffany was back doing her thing. Gacy getting a character rehaul. Much needed and long overdue is the best way I can put it. Because when Gacy first arrived on the scene, many of us put him in the same category as Bray Wyatt. Not as elite. Bray Wyatt's in a league of his own. But at least in the same category. He had a lot of good ideas, a lot of creativity, and he just got that realm, that type of psychology of the business. Not everybody gets. And pretty instantly kind of fell to the wayside, and this group got no creativity put into it, and it just didn't click with the audience. So to hear that Gacy is getting this much-needed rehaul, man, as I said, long overdue. I'll be looking out on that. And Dijak won a match. When I read that, JR9 Gaming, I had to do a double take. Excuse me, what, Dijak? They actually gave him a W? Pretty cool. And the finish, Mello and Trick and their storyline. With Lexus King, too. Brian Pillman Jr. being the antagonist. And Trick accidentally taking out Mello. And then they hug it out, and then Mello has this look on his face like, I was the one to attack you, or at least I know who. Damn good storytelling. That's one of those things you kind of got to see it to feel it, so I will have to get the time soon to catch that entire clip, because that sounds like a pretty badass finish. As far as Xia Li showing up to NXT and wants Valkyria's NXT Women's Championship. I don't get that at all. This sounds like they might give it to Xia Li, and they're going to use that title as a prop between Xia and Becky's feud, or for Xia and Becky's feud. Or, I think, as you put it, JR9, maybe Becky costs Xia that matchup. And that's the reason Xia doesn't win the championship. It's a revenge for Xia taking Becky out of the Battle Royal on Monday, so Becky costs Xia that opportunity. That could happen as well. So anyway, sounds like a lot of good things happen on NXT this week, and you know what? When that happens, usually the ratings will go up. And guess what, JR9 Gaming? Your positives far outweigh the negatives, and the ratings show that you are correct. They went up over 120,000 viewers this week. Last week, pulling in 670,000 viewers. This week, pulling 794,000 viewers. That is over 120,000 viewer difference. 18 to 19% of a difference from last week, and 26% over in the 18 to 49 demo, from a .20 last week to a .26 this week. Sounds like a damn good NXT show. Till next time, and there will be that next time. Top guys, we're out. BC saying check you. Peace.